McDonald's, 1979. A group of children went mysteriously missing on Halloween 1979. The disappearances happened during a birthday party at a McDonald's location in the small town of Dover, Tennessee. The police searched for several weeks, conducted interviews with their families and close relatives, and even took people into questioning. However, the results ultimately yielded inconclusive. After a couple months, the search ended, and there was not much more they could do for the families that were affected. One would question why the police didn't look over the surveillance footage that the McDonald's restaurant surely had, but turns out that location didn't have any such equipment. This was a small-town food establishment after all, and given the time period, many public places simply didn't have such luxuries back then. Despite this, the bodies were eventually found. The first was a young girl named Sarah, age 11, whom was found inside a sewage canal in a neighboring town. The police were only able to locate her body because a man had noticed her hand sticking out of the sewer opening. Her body was all cut up, with lacerations, tearing large red streaks into her pale skin. In her pockets, the police were disturbed to find empty burger wrappers, which were clearly from McDonald's. On her stomach were carved the words, "Happy Birthday, Sarah." A few days later, another boy's body was found at the Dover football field. His name was Joshua, and he was 12 years old. He too was sliced up and had a McDonald's wrapper in his pocket. But his body had a message on it as well. Carved into his forehead was the word, "Eat." About a week later, the body of a 13-year-old girl was discovered by a family that was picking apples from a local orchard. Her name was Elizabeth, and she was found hanging from a tree. Her wrists were slit, and her neck was broken. She was completely nude except for a crown and veil made from paper. The police assumed it was some kind of prom dress-up. In her hands was a toy ring, the type one would get from a Happy Meal. Written across her abdomen was the message, "Smile." A couple weeks after, a 15-year-old boy was found in the same apple orchard, hanging from a tree. The boy's name was William, and he was discovered with his legs missing. It was like someone had chopped them off at the thighs and then hung his torso upside down. He had no clothes on, but was wearing a clown mask that covered his face. Written across his back in black marker was the word "Dance." 2 days later, the last child was discovered in an alleyway next to a grocery store. Her name was Jessica, and she was 14. She had a knife driven into the side of her head, and her arms were cut off. There were 2 McDonald's wrappers stuffed into her mouth. Across her body was the word "Game." It is suspected that the children were all kidnapped by the same person, but the reason behind this and who is responsible for their murders remain a mystery. Since then, many people have come out with their testimonies on what they saw on Halloween Day in 1979, and while the stories themselves may not always line up, they all have one thing in common. They all claim to have seen a man dressed up as the titular McDonald's mascot, Ronald McDonald, enter and leave the building numerous times. Strangely, the restaurant's owner, when questioned by police about sightings of the clown mascot, denied these accounts and said the character was not supposed to make an appearance on that day. This has led to many pseudo-investigators to craft theories about the case, using the grotesque state the bodies were found in and connecting with the reports of the Ronald McDonald mascot as the culprit of the crime. As I read about this case now, I cannot stop thinking about those bodies and how they were mutilated by something evil. I also begin to feel comforted that I live in an era of mass telecommunications, which would ensure that another incident like the 1979 McDonald's Halloween murders could never happen again. Despite this, I still feel uneasy, especially at night. When I'm alone in my bed, sometimes when I'm really tired, I could see a glimpse of the bright red and orange clown mascot. When I look in the mirror in the early morning, I see Ronald McDonald staring back at me. He flashes me an unnaturally wide smile from ear to ear, and waves his gloved hand in an exaggerated motion, before disappearing from my view. This morning, when I turned on the TV, I was shocked to hear about an incident that occurred at a local McDonald's restaurant, not too far from where I live. The news headline read, "6 children missing at McDonald's. Suspect remains unidentified." My jaw nearly dropped from this discovery. That's when I checked my phone and saw today's date, October 31st, 2019, 40 years later. 2 yellow gloves were found alongside the body of a little boy in a nearby park that I frequented. Those same gloves that I saw waiting for me every time I looked in the mirror. On the boy's body was etched 3 simple words that will haunt me forever. I'm still here.